I'm sure most of you are now aware that Chris Eubank Jr. is officially now training with Roy Jones Jr. That's his coach now. He says that he's going to be with Roy Jones for years to come. I've looked at some of the training footage of Chris Eubank Jr. with Roy Jones hitting the pads, also in sparring, and I haven't really noticed much difference yet. The way he throws his punches hasn't really changed as far as I can tell. He still throws a lot of bent arm shots. His stance doesn't seem that much different. He doesn't really get much extension on his punches. And that's been an issue for a long time, particularly when he's trying to box at long range. He's not getting extension on the right hand. I know that for a long time he had an issue with his right elbow. He had tennis elbow, and that's a very painful condition, by the way, people. If you get it severely, it's very painful, and it can impede your ability to get full extension on your shots. But irrespective of whether that's the case or not, he's not getting full extension on the punches, same as usual. He likes to throw a lot of uppercuts in his sparring footage. He's uppercutting this particular sparring partner constantly. So it just seems like the same old Eubank Jr. at the moment, but the proof is in the pudding, of course, when he returns to the ring. Now, the fact that Eubank Jr. likes training with Roy Jones and that he's so enthused about it doesn't surprise me, because of the fact that Roy Jones has been there, seen it, and done it. And at one point, he was the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world. So I think it's easier for Eubank Jr. to actually respect somebody like that, because that's what he's shooting for. He wants to be a world champion and be respected and be on pound-for-pound lists, etc. So to be trained by somebody who's done that, I think Eubank Jr. might listen to him more than he might listen to a regular trainer who might have boxed but was never a world champion. And also, Eubank Jr. is somebody who is very athletic, and I think he is impressed by other athletically gifted fighters. And there's no fighter that I've seen in my lifetime who was more athletically gifted than Roy Jones Jr. in his prime. He was literally a freak of nature. And those of you who are around in the 1990s and witnessed Roy Jones Jr.'s prime, you'll know what I'm talking about. His athleticism was absolutely absurd in his prime. And again, I think Eubank Jr. is drawn to that, to the athleticism of Roy Jones Jr., because Roy Jones Jr. really traded on his athleticism. He wasn't a guy that was particularly technical. He was a guy who was insanely athletically gifted. He would throw quadruple left hooks. He would put his hands behind his back, wait for you to throw a punch, and then counter with something that actually drops you. See, Tyson Fury puts his hands behind his back, but he just does it as a bit of showboat and a bit of psychological warfare. Roy Jones Jr. will put his hands behind his back, wait for you to throw a shot like he did to Glenn Kelly, and then he dropped him with a right hand. When he fought a guy called Richard Hall at light heavyweight, in the first round, he hit Richard Hall, I think, with a right hand. Then he literally ran around. He ran a circle around Richard Hall because Richard Hall was stunned from the first punch. He ran a circle around him, and then he dropped him with the next punch. I mean, his athleticism was insane, the stuff he used to do. And I think that Chris Eubank Jr. finds Roy Jones Jr.'s style of training, because I'm sure he's incorporating, in terms of training his fighters, the kind of stuff he used to do. And I think Chris Eubank Jr. finds it very fun, the way that Roy Jones Jr. trains. A lot of music, a lot of rhythm, a lot of, not necessarily training the athleticism, but making the most out of your athleticism with the type of training he does. It's less technical and more athleticism based. Some of it is technical, of course, but it's all about freestyling a lot of the time and, enhancing your athleticism, bringing it out, letting your athleticism run free. I think that is the kind of training that Roy Jones Jr. does a lot of, and he imparts that into his fighters, particularly someone like Chris Eubank Jr., who's very naturally athletically gifted himself, nowhere near what a prime Roy Jones Jr. was in terms of his athleticism, but, still. So the proof is in the pudding. We'll see what results he can get with Roy Jones Jr. But one thing I can say is that it's very important as a fighter to respect your trainer and respect what he's teaching you, but also to be happy. And if Eubank Jr. is truly happy for the first time with a trainer, then it could yield results, you know? We'll see. And he was doing fairly well with the guy he's been training with, the guy he trained with for the James DeGale fight. I forget his name now. Is it Diaz, his surname? I think it's Diaz. I believe that Eubank Jr. is talking about retaining him in some capacity. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Roy Jones Jr. will be the head coach. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about Chris Eubank Jr. now having Roy Jones as his coach. Will it make a difference? Will they have more success? Will Eubank Jr. actually pick up a legit world title? Because he did have, was it an interim title, the WBA version or something like that, several years ago. But in terms of having a legit belt, will he be able to pick one of those up? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And give me your assessment of Roy Jones Jr. as a trainer and what you think he might be able to teach Chris Eubank. I saw at one stage he was getting Eubank Jr. to throw these triple hooks. But as I say, Eubank Jr. isn't as... his arms don't look as long as Roy Jones Jr.'s arms. I don't know what the reach is, but again, I always am at pains to point out there's a difference between reach and arm length. But his arms don't look as long as Roy Jones Jr.'s arms. And he's just a different type of fighter. Maybe Eubank Jr. can't really fight at long range. Maybe I'm trying to encourage him to do something which he's physically not really capable of. And he can fight at long range, of course, but I'm talking about in the way that I'm expressing. So getting more extension on his punches, altering his stance a little bit. Now, when Eubank Jr. is on the back foot and he's got a pressure fighter coming at him, then he's actually quite good at long range. But I'm talking about when you're in the middle of the ring, like he was against Billy Joe Saunders or like he was against George Groves, being able to use your jab effectively at long range when you're in the middle of the ring against a boxer, being able to throw right hands at long range in the middle of the ring. See, Roy Jones Jr. could do these things. And he wasn't as technically gifted as Bernard Hopkins or James Toney or Mike McCallum. But yet he was still able to stand in the middle of the ring and box with these guys because of his athleticism and because he was getting good extension on his punches, Roy Jones, on his right hand. One of the things that Roy Jones used to do, a mistake he would often make, is he would leap in with a shot and leave himself out of position. But he was so fast that he'd get away with mistakes like that, throwing himself off balance and, what have you. And, as I say, he would just throw a punch, be totally out of position. The counter would miss because Roy Jones would move his head or do whatever evasive maneuver and then reset himself and be able to throw more punches at you. Eubank Jr. doesn't have that level of speed. Okay, so if he does learn how to throw more extended right hands and extended punches at range, he's going to have to do it from a more technical perspective or on a more technical basis than Roy Jones Jr. So anyway, the triple left hooks that he was having Eubank Jr. throw and the quadruple left hooks on the pads, will we see that when Eubank Jr. actually fights? Maybe. And you see, those kind of things, it all looks very impressive on the pads when you're throwing triple left hooks and all this kind of stuff. But in certain instances in the boxing ring, you might be able to utilize that. I mean, it's nice to have it. It can't hurt you having that in your arsenal, training that into your muscle memory. Roy Jones Jr. was certainly able to utilize shots like that, throwing quadruple left hooks. Most other fighters never get the opportunity. So we'll see where it goes with Eubank Jr. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out.